Carl Sagan warned, "Think critically, or old age will come sooner." Few figures in modern science evoke the same mixture of awe and warmth as Carl Sagan. He guided us across vast interstellar distances in his series Cosmos, unveiling how each twinkle of starlight might conceal entire worlds beyond our imagining. Yet beneath the planetary tours and poetic monologues, Sagan possessed an unwavering conviction about the human mind, that our capacity to think critically, systematically, skeptically, and with an insatiable thirst for truth was not just a tool for scientific progress, but also a vital key to our personal well-being and longevity. Indeed, rumor has it that Sagan once issued a caution with characteristic bluntness: "Think critically, or old age will come sooner." The statement might appear hyperbolic. How could the speed at which we age be linked to the rigors of logical reasoning and analytical thought? But if you follow the threads of Sagan's worldview, his emphasis on curiosity, his wariness of superstition, and his deep reverence for the biological processes that shaped us, a compelling case emerges for why the mind, when left unexamined or unchallenged, might succumb to decline faster than we expect. By the end of this lengthy exploration, you will not only grasp the deeper logic behind Sagan's admonition, but also discover a practical method, rooted in scientific evidence and cosmic wonder, that could help keep your mind youthful well into later years. And if the promise of sustained mental acuity entices you, perhaps the final revelations will lead you to adopt a new daily routine of critical engagement and reflection. To see how critical thinking might influence aging, we should examine the broad strokes of Sagan's legacy. Born in 1934, Sagan soared to prominence as an astronomer and planetary scientist who championed the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, studied the greenhouse effect on Venus, and consistently bridged the gap between academic research and public curiosity. In public lectures, he extolled the power of scientific skepticism, urging laypeople to subject claims, be they about UFOs, mystic healings, or cosmic conspiracies, to rational scrutiny. "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence," he famously said, a line that reveals how deeply he valued rigorous thought. But more quietly, Sagan also pointed out that the mind is a delicate instrument, shaped by evolution not just to decode cosmic signals, but also to navigate everyday life. If we fail to keep that instrument well-honed, by letting it drift into gullibility, mental laziness, or passive acceptance of dogma, we expedite its deterioration, like a telescope left under harsh sunlight, its mirrors warping unnoticed. The rumored "think critically, or old age will come sooner" might then be read as a warning that mental passivity accelerates cognitive decline. And in a sense, that matches emerging data in gerontology. People who consistently challenge their brains with complex tasks, learning new skills, or dissecting information with critical depth often maintain sharper faculties as they age. Could Sagan have recognized that principle decades before it became mainstream in neuroscience? Reflect on how Sagan's life embodied this synergy. He never stopped questioning or reevaluating. Whether discussing the surface temperature of Venus or speculating about the architecture of the cosmos, he remained a relentless examiner of data, a champion of cross-checking new hypotheses. It's plausible that in private, he extended that same logic to daily living. He might have scorned the idea of mindless routine or unquestioned habits. If we let trivial illusions or unexamined beliefs accumulate in our psyches, Sagan might argue, we effectively let mental rust corrode the brain's edges, leading to less adaptability and quicker onset of the mental brittleness commonly associated with older age. Conversely, by practicing scrutiny, curiosity, and rational testing each day, we keep neural circuits vibrant, akin to how physical exercise keeps muscles toned. The difference is that Sagan saw critical thinking not merely as a virtue, but as a protective measure for preserving the neural elasticity that so often erodes into dogmatism and memory lapses if left idle. But is that not an overreach? After all, we can find the typical lifestyle pillars for longevity: balanced diet, regular exercise, adequate sleep, stress management, and none explicitly mention critical thinking. The mainstream approach suggests that brain games, social engagement, and learning are good for staving off cognitive decline. Sagan's rumored statement suggests something more fundamental, that critical thinking is not just another mental activity, but the bedrock of a certain mental posture. Why so potent? Because critical thinking demands the integration of multiple cognitive functions: analytical reasoning, pattern recognition, self-awareness of biases, and a willingness to revise beliefs in light of new evidence. Engaging in that synergy stretches the mind in ways that simpler forms of mental stimulation, like crosswords or rote learning, may not. If you systematically question assumptions, like how the cosmos might be older than we once believed, or how illusions can fool even a trained scientist, you remain on the watch for mental shortcuts or illusions. That watchfulness, repeated daily, fosters an agile brain that seldom succumbs to the inert acceptance that can degrade mental acuity over time. We can glean parallels in neuroscience. Studies show that older adults who consistently challenge their own viewpoints or participate in debate, analyzing arguments from multiple angles, exhibit more robust functional connectivity in certain areas of the prefrontal cortex. That suggests that critical thinking might literally carve out or sustain neural pathways, preventing atrophy. Meanwhile, those who seldom question or who accept superficial truths might let their prefrontal circuits stagnate. Over decades, that can expedite the decay of memory formation or complex reasoning. Sagan, if he anticipated this, might have recognized that critical thought is to the brain what weightlifting is to the muscles, a direct bulwark against the slow onset of decline. Thus, think critically, or old age will come sooner, becomes less an idle quip, more a clarion call to preserve the mind's youthfulness. One can imagine him summarizing in a talk. Just as cosmic structures remain stable by dynamic equilibrium, so your mind remains vital by the dynamic interplay of skepticism and open-mindedness. Now, let's introduce our first question to you, dear reader, for reflection or to answer in the comments. Do you believe your daily life fosters enough critical thinking, real inquiry into claims, confrontation of biases, a willingness to revise your stance? Or do you feel you float on autopilot, accepting superficial news or social narratives? And if you suspect you're on autopilot, can you identify one or two daily steps to inject more curiosity and challenge into your routine? We must anchor these lofty ideas in the day-to-day. If we take Sagan's statement at face value, how do we implement it? After all, think critically is broad. One approach might be a daily Sagan session, reminiscent of how some folks practice mindfulness. Each morning or evening, or during lunch, you pick a claim or assumption that touches your life, be it a news headline, a health tip, or a snippet from social media. For 5 to 10 minutes, you dissect it. What evidence supports it? What's the opposing argument? What biases might color your acceptance or rejection of it? And how does it align with known data? This might sound like a mini essay, but done casually, it could be invigorating. Over days, you train your brain to pivot from passive consumption to active analysis. The effect is not just mental stimulation, but also a sense of empowerment. Freed from gullibility, you realize that your cognitive autonomy is intact. That sense of mental agency, repeated daily, fosters neural resiliency, akin to building mental muscle. Of course, some might retort, but critical thinking can be tiring. Why not conserve mental energy for tasks that actually matter to my job or personal life? The response: daily micro-exercises in skepticism or analysis yield compounding returns, so that when you face a major decision about finances, health, relationships, your critical faculties are primed. Meanwhile, your mind remains in a state of flexible awareness, less prone to the mental ossification that leads to early mental aging. Sagan recognized that the cosmos is never static. Planets revolve, galaxies drift, black holes feed, all in constant motion. Human cognition likewise thrives on constant motion, the interplay of hypothesis and evidence. If you let that interplay stagnate, you risk mental stasis. And in stasis, cognitive decline creeps faster. Or so suggests the rumor behind his cautionary phrase. One might also consider the emotional dimension. Some fear that critical thinking robs life of wonder. But ironically, Sagan exemplified how genuine wonder flourishes best with a rational framework. He would say that illusions hamper true wonder, while seeing the cosmos as it is, vast, ancient, governed by natural laws, sparks a deeper awe than any superstitious fantasy. That wonder can feed positivity and reduce stress, which in turn helps preserve mental sharpness. So think critically, or old age will come sooner. Might also mean that if we do not refine our rational frameworks, we remain stuck in shallow beliefs, constantly battered by worry, gullible to fear-based narratives, and thus living in a near-constant state of mild distress. That distress can accelerate aging. Conversely, a stable, rational worldview fosters calm confidence, one that stands up to adversity, reducing the stress load your body and mind bear. Over decades, that might be the difference between a mind that remains vital at 80 and one that withers at 60. Now is a suitable moment for our second question for you. If you practiced a brief daily critique session, where you pick one claim or assumption from your day and dissect it methodically, do you think you'd see shifts not just in your intellectual agility, but also in your overall sense of emotional well-being or stress? And if yes, how might that shape your next month or year? As we proceed, let's highlight how we might formalize Sagan's principle in a daily routine, bridging cosmic perspective with critical thought. Morning spark. Upon waking, consider a cosmic image or remember a line from Sagan's work about the immensity of the universe. Let it humble and excite you simultaneously, washing away trivial anxieties, planting seeds of curiosity. Identifying a claim. At some point in the morning or early day, pick one statement you encountered, maybe something from the news or a social conversation. Record it briefly in a notebook or mental note. Dissection. Over lunch or a short break, dissect that claim. Ask, what's the main evidence? Who states it? Could there be alternative explanations? Are there biases at play? Resist cynicism, but maintain healthy skepticism. Integration. Form a provisional conclusion or remain uncertain if evidence is lacking. The point is not to have final answers, but to practice the mental dance of critical analysis. If you sense that the claim is robust, adopt it with caution. If not, set it aside. This keeps your mind agile. Gratitude or wonder in the day by recentering. Maybe read a quick snippet of astronomy news or watch a short cosmic video, letting the scale of the universe put your day in perspective. That final dose of wonder pairs with your earlier critical thinking, forging a calm curiosity that soaks into your subconscious overnight. Observe over time. Notice if your memory for details or your ability to pivot quickly in conversations improves. Note if your stress or gullibility declines. The synergy of cosmic perspective plus daily critical analysis might, as rumored, slow the aging of your mind, letting your neural plasticity remain youthful. One might ask, this is all well and good, but how do we measure if it really staves off early mental decline? The simplest approach is to track how you handle new learning or how you adapt to changes. Are you stuck in rigid patterns, or do you fluidly incorporate new information? Another measure is mood resilience. Do you find negativity or confusion less likely to overwhelm you? Longevity is complex, shaped by genes, environment, and countless factors. Yet the intangible role of daily mental discipline is increasingly acknowledged. Sagan, in championing critical thinking, offered a blueprint that stands outside of fleeting health fads, focusing instead on the cognitive substrate. If we keep that substrate strong, the rest might follow. Skeptics might argue, why link it specifically to old age coming sooner? That's a stretch. Possibly the rumor is a dramatized version of Sagan's more nuanced stance. He might have said something like, without critical thinking, you invite illusions that degrade your mind, effectively aging you faster. Indeed, illusions can lead to chronic stress, poor decisions about health, finances, relationships, a cascade that prematurely burdens the body and mind. If you consistently get fooled by pseudoscience, you might skip actual preventative medicine or adopt harmful regimens. Over decades, that predisposes you to earlier diseases. Meanwhile, a critical thinker sees through hype, invests in proven approaches, and navigates life's complexities with fewer pitfalls. That might yield a real extension in health span, if not always an absolute lifespan. We can also see how Sagan's statement might function as a rhetorical device. Think critically, or old age will come sooner, is a more arresting slogan than a drab reminder about mental stimulation. Sagan was a master communicator. Even if we never find the exact phrase in his official texts, it resonates with his style, dramatic but anchored in rational insight. If adopting this motto nudges people to remain intellectually vigilant, the net effect is beneficial, curbing gullibility, fostering deeper engagement with reality, and thus bolstering mental longevity. Another dimension is how critical thinking fosters community. Sagan believed that a society that fails to question is a society that surrenders to ignorance, letting demagogues or charlatans run amok. On an individual level, a single gullible slip might be minor. On a societal scale, it can be catastrophic. The link to aging might be subtler socially, but the overarching principle is that a mind that remains engaged in communal discourse, challenging misinformation, stays cognitively active. That social cognition is pivotal for staving off dementia in older adults. Many geriatric specialists note that robust social interplay plus mental tasks is protective. So from a broad vantage, Sagan's call to critical thinking might also reflect how communal mental vigor helps each member stay mentally agile. In that sense, an entire community that questions, debates, and seeks evidence might collectively push back the onset of mental stagnation, letting older members remain sharper. Now, as we near the conclusion, let's distill everything into a coherent perspective. The rumor Carl Sagan warned, "Think critically, or old age will come sooner," can be read as a metaphor for how intellectual passivity accelerates cognitive decline, while disciplined questioning extends mental youthfulness. Sagan recognized that cosmic truths remain hidden from lazy thinking or gullible acceptance. We must probe, re-examine, refine, just as he did with planetary atmospheres and cosmic signals. By applying that same skeptical curiosity to daily life, whether it's a sensational headline or a friend's anecdotal claim, we keep neural circuits alive, forging a mental environment less prone to stress or dogmatic rigidity. Over time, that mental environment translates into physiological benefits, reduced stress hormones, a positive emotional baseline, and a sense of empowerment. All these guard us from the usual ravages of aging. Perhaps that is how, in Sagan's mind, critical thinking becomes an anti-aging strategy. We might never see it published as a Sagan longevity paper, but the logic stands. Finally, consider how you might adopt or scale up that principle. Start small. Pick one news story a day, dissect it with a Sagan-like approach. What does the data show? Is there an alternative explanation? Encourage your family or friends to do the same. Over weeks, you'll notice that you rely less on knee-jerk opinions. You grow comfortable with "I don't know" or "let's find out" stances that ironically keep your mind flexible and alive. That mental flexibility is the opposite of the rigidity that so often typifies old age. And that is precisely the point. By living in a constant state of humble inquiry, you replicate the essence of Sagan's quest to see the cosmos as it truly is, not as we wish it to be. Freed from illusions, you remain younger in spirit and mind. That might be enough to postpone old age, at least cognitively, a few extra years. And if that is the case, then Sagan's rumored admonition stands validated. We near the final moment now. So let me present our last question. If you integrated daily micro-challenges of critical thinking, like verifying a claim, questioning a widely held assumption, or reading a short scientific or skeptical piece, how do you foresee your mental agility evolving over the next 5 or 10 years? Could you envision yourself entering later decades with a sharper, more adaptive mind than peers who passively drift? That is the heart of the rumor-based narrative, Carl Sagan warned. Think critically, or old age will come sooner, stands as a rallying cry to keep your mind active, to dissect illusions, to navigate data and controversies with the same curiosity that leads us to explore the stars. If you heed that call, the payoff might be a mind that endures, refusing to slump into mental decrepitude prematurely. And in the cosmic tapestry of existence, where each of us is but a brief flash, preserving mental vitality might be one of the greatest gifts we can bestow upon ourselves. So maybe the next time you catch a dubious claim or notice your own unchallenged assumptions, you'll hear Sagan's voice. Think critically, or old age will come sooner, and choose instead to question, explore, and remain cognitively young.